Good day, guys. Hope you guys are doing well and staying safe in your bubble. Welcome to the first episode of Win Together. I believe if we have to win in our lives, we have to win it together. The sole purpose that I want to start this community is to bring as much as value as I can to all of you guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring people from all sorts of professions and we'll ask them questions, and obviously we want you to put all the questions that you want to ask. So our first interview was done with Steven from Oxygen8. I really hope you like that, and I really hope it brings some sort of value to you. Please tell us about your experience and keep us posted. Take care. All right, guys. So what we've got Steven today from Oxygen8, and what we're going to basically talk about is. So I'm going to start by asking you a few questions, Steven, just about tell us a bit about yourself, and the main question and the one that I really want is you've got a lot of experience. So that's the second question. So start with tell us a bit about yourself, please.
Great. Well, thanks for the opportunity, firstly. I've been in a number of businesses of all sizes, and I've seen a lot of success and a lot of failure as well. So I've experienced the good and the bad of businesses of various sizes, from one-man shows all the way up to multinationals. And what I've learned through all of that is that business mostly depends on the quality of the people in the business. And what I've done most recently is set up my own practice in association with Oxygen8 to try and help people who are in business to make the use of the talent that they've got. I think there's an enormous amount of talent around in New Zealand. People just need to know how to channel that. And, I'm pretty sure that even in times like these, which are very uncertain, with the right amount of assistance and people asking the right questions, almost anyone can make a success.
I can't agree with you more, because I think people who are smart, and I was just talking to you as well, some of our investor clients are actually making sure that they're all set up to take the opportunity that they're probably going to get in these times as well. So Steven, I know you've got an enormous amount of experience. Tell us maybe a bit of example that if you can share with us, what I know you can probably do heaps, but we just for one example for today would be a great for all the audience, please.
An example of some of the stuff I've done.
Yes,
well,
please.
I think in what would be a really appropriate example now is that in a time when everybody thinks that the economy is about to collapse, or that there's at least going to be some sort of hardship. I was working for a company that was part of an industry, and in 1 year that industry reduced its size by 80%. So the revenue that came into that industry collapsed to 20%. And it was carnage. The entire industry relied on a single provider, and the provider just switched things off. So in times like that, it is very easy to become quite despondent and to just sort of abandon ship and go elsewhere. I was very fortunate to be part of a company that firstly had the right resources, and secondly had the right attitude to say, this is the worst it's ever going to be. Let's make the best that we possibly can. And about 18 months later, that company was the market leader, because everybody else was pessimistic, hung back, whereas this company tossed everything they could at it, and when they came out the other side, they were 3 or 4 times the size of their nearest competitor, and the rest is history. I mean, they've just carried on growing and growing and growing because they had the courage and they had the people. And they were also fortunate enough to have the resources. But I think even with the first two, you can make quite a big difference.
I think obviously there are always two ways that we can respond to a situation. It's either, being courageous enough and go bloody all in, which I'm really big on. Look, what's the worst can happen? Just lessons. That's it. Learnings that we can probably use it in the future as well. you do remember, I want to mention that while I'm recording this is because you've got a bloody amazing voice and I've been telling you to do podcasts, so please do. Yeah, just great voice. Thank you so much. Stephen, I obviously know you a wee bit, but I need to know something interesting which I don't know, or for the audience as well.
Interesting about me. There's not a lot that's interesting about me.
Oh, trust me, you do.
I've got, I spend quite a lot of time, as you can see from the books I've got. I'm actually, my core DNA is business is something I've developed into. I started off being very interested in arts, literature, philosophy, history, that sort of thing. And what I realize is that there is quite a lot, those subjects and the way those subjects teach you to think actually help you in business, because you take things from a completely different angle. You don't accept things at face value. You ask. So that kind of experience has been very good, even though it wouldn't appear to be valuable at first, but I think it's been extremely valuable in my life.
I think that's the judgment that most of us go into as well. When we see someone, as soon as we do that, we try and judge people by their clothes, how they look. You know, that's one of the biggest challenges that for all of us as a humanity that we have, I guess. Once we can take that off, I'm pretty sure once we can see who the actual person is and what they have in terms of their strengths, I think we'll probably be more winning. So that's why I wanna call this. I want to call this actually, how can we win together? The name of I don't know whether you want to call a show or whatever you want to call it. We want to name together this win together, because I really think that if we want to win, it has to be together. Nobody can win alone, for sure, as we all are connected. So thank you so much for that. Last, please tell us, as if to how can you actually help a business to grow? What do you actually do? Now we're going to go into core of what do you do, and look,
Okay.
take your time and please share as much as you can.
So there are things that we do that I can explain in general, but there are also things that we're doing right now because of the situation that everybody's in. And let me start with that rather.
Yeah, absolutely, because that was my next question. But look, please go ahead as you, yeah.
What point where people are looking forward beyond this crisis, and what they are faced with is an enormous amount of uncertainty. Nobody knows. This has never happened in the modern era, and even the examples of where this happened previously, one can't necessarily expect those same things to happen again. So it's a bit up in the air, and the worst thing that people can do is think that there's so much uncertainty that just wait and see how it happens, what happens. That is absolutely the worst thing you can do. The very best thing you can do is to take educated guesses. Why don't we guess a number of scenarios and say, if my business declines by 30%, what are my options? What are my fixed overheads that I need to deal with? What are the variables I can look at? What are my sources of funding specifically? Where can I get that? Is my business going to be continually vulnerable if this sort of thing happens again? And, to build a scenario and to build a checklist of things that you need to do, because we are quite sure that this is not going to be the last viral attack in the world. It's going to happen again, and it might take any number of different forms in future. So you need to have a business that's resilient. And secondly, you need to have a game plan. And you can actually see what's happened recently is that the government has put together a series of game plans. This is what happens at level 4. These switches happen. This is what happens at level 3. These switches happen. And level 2. So you can do. My business is facing this crisis right now. Here's the game plan. It's pre-thought out, and I know what to do. Tick, 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 tick. So that's what we're helping businesses do now, is think ahead, create some scenarios, put together comprehensive plans that you can turn on whenever something that unpredictable happens,
yeah,
so that you're not
yeah.
caught unawares. Under normal circumstances, what we do is we look at the business and see why it is potentially vulnerable to such things, and we want to make it less vulnerable. So that means we look at every aspect of the business itself, we look at the industry it operates in, and we look at the broader economy. We take a very comprehensive view, and we try and identify opportunities for the business to become more robust and more resilient. Or actually, over and above that, we try and make sure that the business owner's objectives are met. We want to, whether they want to grow the business or whether they're getting ready to retire or whatever it is, they're getting it ready for sale. There are a number of things that's not for us to determine, but we help them reach those objectives, and we help them build a plan, which is important, but most importantly, we help them implement that plan. So if you visit lots of small businesses, at some point they were asked by their bank manager to put together a business plan. They wrote a page or two. It's got about 3 inches of dust on it. It hasn't been touched in 15 years. It's on the shelf. That's not really what we're all about. We're there to make sure that those ideas that were in that person's head when they started the business actually become true. And businesses in all shapes and sizes, in all industries, it's mostly the people we deal with, and the way we target people is not by size or industry, but by the attitude of the owner. If they've got an attitude that's determined and committed, we can do anything with them.
And that's exactly what I was going to say to you. Sorry, I'm stopping you. I think the passion and most importantly, the why. Why did you start it in the first place? And the passion is the only way to make sure that we get through this absolutely fine. So thank you. Anything else that you want to add, please?
Well, just to say that right now the government is supporting small businesses to go through this crisis, not only financially with the wage subsidy and so on, but they're also offering an interim bridging piece of support for consultancy. So there's a lot of information on. You can go to the Oxygen8 website. That's Oxygen8. That's OXYGEN with an 8. .co.nz, and on there you'll see there's a covered package that the government is putting together, which means you can get consultancy for free, and it's a fantastic opportunity for people. I think the amount of support that we have gotten this time, obviously we've had crises in the past as well, in terms of GFC and all the other crises in the history. I think this would be probably the impact may not be that as bad as it was before. The reason being is because the amount of support that we've gotten from the government, which it has never ever happened in the history of human race, that this is the amount of support. So I think you're right. I obviously want to commend and the government here as well, that they're doing a pretty good job supporting a lot of people in not so good situation for some of us, for sure. Good.
Thank you so much, Steven. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to talk.
No worries at all. I really hope you have an amazing day, and we'll talk very soon.
Cool. Thank you very much.